I just want to say a few words about Mangala. We all know that Mangala was a unique person. Unique as a human being in that he had exceptional talents. He was an artist, a creative person. He was also an extremely humane person, but unlike many artists, he was also a very practical achiever. Many artists I know have lots of good ideas, creations, but when it comes to practically implementing what they believe in, implementing policies, they fail. Mangala was an achiever, and he could practically implement what he believed in. He was honest, he hated dishonesty. He was full of integrity. He was a democrat. He believed in freedom, as all of you said, and he was fiercely passionate about what he believed in. I can relate many incidents of Mangala getting very angry and passionately angry when he saw acts of racism or injustice, corruption, and in that Mangala and I shared a lot. He also, through all this, loved fun. I will come back to that later. Mangala was a person, as you said, Murad, who believed in policies. He wasn't just a man who spoke nice words like most of our so-called politicos. He actually conceptualized policies. He had a vision about what he wanted to do, and he had, as I said, the ability to implement it. It must have come from all his reading, and I suppose because he was an intelligent man. So it was very easy to work with Mangala. When we worked together, and I had to lead many projects, Mangala was the first person I would invite for discussions and put my idea forward and say, go now and think about it and tell me how to do it, and he would come back with a brilliant idea. One example of it is the whole ethnic question. I came into power screaming against racism and the non-resolution of the ethnic issue in Sri Lanka, and I won't go into all the details. And as soon as we came, we started evolving policies were already done, but developing them, developing a constitution, an entire policy to accord the minorities their rights and all this. And then I noticed we managed to persuade our political party, which was Mangala's and mine, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, to accept, to stop going and sitting under every bow tree against any suggested resolution to the ethnic problem, which they were doing at that time, and persuaded the entire party, including its president, to accept that this must be resolved in this manner, and all this. And then I noticed that when we were trying to implement the policies, especially the new constitution, there was some objections, not much, but some Buddhist monks marching on the streets, the opposition political party insidiously most times and openly at other times opposing it, and all this. And then we had a survey done. I'm not going to go into the details, but Mangala played an extremely important role in this. This is what I want to talk about. I had a survey done by a foreign company, of an opinion survey amongst the Sinhalese people. There was no point in doing it amongst the Muslims and the Tamils, because I knew to a man and a woman they would say yes to the new constitution. And anyway, the war was going on, so surveys couldn't be done in the north and east. And the result was that only 23% of the people, mainly Sinhalese, agreed with our new constitution and agreed that the ethnic problem should be resolved with peaceful political negotiations. They said, go ahead with the war. When I saw the results, I said, this can't be so. because I had worked a lot in the villages for 20, 30 years, and I knew that a normal Sinhala person did not think like that. So I said, I invited Mangala and altogether 19 MPs and ministers who I knew were fully with me on this, in this line of thinking, and I said, this is the situation, these are the results of the survey, but I'm quite sure that the Sinhala people don't really believe this. The politicians have not dared speak the language of peace to our people. They only spoke the language of hatred and war. So I want you to tell me how we can go to the people with all kinds of creative programs. I had, of course, been doing a lot of talking about this. And at every election, I got a bigger majority. So obviously that also proved that the people did believe in what we were saying. So I said, design some programs and come back. This was at Temple Trees. There is a room for you. 19 of you go there, discuss even for the whole day. Lunch is ready. If you finish successfully, there will be drinks also. But come back to me before the end of the day with your program. They came at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I thought it will go on till evening. And with this brilliant program of the Sudu Nelum, as you know it, the Sudu Nelum program, it was mainly Mangala's idea. And then we started implementing it. Of course, Mangala led the whole program, the practical part of it. I led the political part of it. And that's how we worked. So that is how creative Mangala was, and he was completely committed to this program. He would passionately fight with anybody against anybody who said anything about it. He would ensure that it was implemented in every corner of the country. And then the final part of the program was actually taking street plays, street theatre from one corner of Sri Lanka to the other. We couldn't go to the north, but well, as near as the north as possible to the south, from the east to the west. The Sudu Nelum program and the theatre, the street theatre was called? The Sinhalese word, Tavalama, the Sinhalese word for caravan. They went by caravan with the program. It was not really a caravan, but went from one end to the other, performing in places, at bus stands, in railway stations where people would gather in the evenings or early morning with the message of peace. And at the end of 2 years after all this, of course, we also did a lot of seminars for public servants, for all types of people, where there are people like us would speak. At the end of exactly 2 years, the same foreign company came back and did a similar survey. The 23% of the people who said we want war and not peace, well, I'm putting it rather crudely, it went up to 68% of the people, the Sinhala people, saying we will vote for the new constitution. And a lot of it was Mangala's doing. Lots and lots of things were part of the program. Of course, the brick for a book, that was rebuilding the Jaffna library and all that. Of course, I was part of it and giving it leadership, and giving some ideas. So this was the man Mangala was, and he was totally dedicated to this, up to the point of taking the constitution to parliament and getting hooted out of parliament, and the constitution being burnt and burning balls of paper being thrown at me. So that was why we could not implement it. That's another story. I'm writing about it. So this is the kind of person Mangala was, and give him anything to do, he will do it very well if he liked it. Otherwise he would say, madam, this is not my area, give it to someone else. He was not jealous. He was very generous-hearted. All of you who knew him would have known this. He could be humble when required, but also very arrogant sometimes when necessary with people he didn't like, which I loved. That attitude of his also. And fun-loving too. I remember one incident when you were talking. We did the Southern Provincial Council election together. And of course, finally I nominated Mangala as the head of the party's publicity programs at every election campaign. Given his creativity, he would do a brilliant job. And of course, he also had other relatives who could help him with it, brothers-in-law and others. And back him up. So this was a Southern Provincial Council election, and the system was that I had to lead that. I would go from district to district, the 3 southern districts, doing about 20 meetings a day. And the last meeting would end up at 2 o'clock in the morning. But people were still waiting to hear. When we were doing Mathura district, when Mangal was leading Mathura district then for our party, we would go on and be very tired. And it was during the very hot season. I think it was February, March of the year, which is very hot in the southwest. And towards the end, Mangal would say, "Madam, before we go for the late evening meetings, which starts at about 10, 11 at night, shall we have a dip?" And I would jump at it because he and I both love the sea. And we would go to Pulhena beach and have a good long swim on the beach, have some wine, and then have a shower, get dressed and go for the next meetings till 2 o'clock in the morning. Now the party people, we didn't have security people. The then government didn't give us any security, and so much better. The other party ladies and all who were there on the beach saying, "Mangala Mutwata pissu me madam ta mono hari unot api monawada kiyanne me madam delay," and all that. And we were swimming away in the sea. So this was Mangala, and this is what we shared. And Mangala is the only man who was not a boyfriend or a husband that I have spent several holidays abroad with, alone, just Mangala and I, visiting various countries, and had a whale of a time. So Mangala was a many-faceted human being, and that was, I think, what was interesting in Mangala, and that was what made Mangala. He had many talents, he was able to appreciate many things, and as you said, he read a lot. But I think quite apart from that, he had that in his character. So I can go on, but I will not. I just wanted to say a few things because I was told only last night that I had to say some words, and I fought with Chanchala for not telling me earlier because last few weeks I've been under terrific stress for various reasons. And I couldn't get my thoughts together, I couldn't focus. But when the 4 of you spoke, I was somewhat inspired. And I can see our friends, I'm sure Iran can relate many stories about the times from 2015 onwards when we worked together and fought an election together. That was a very difficult time. We were fighting a dictatorial government, trying to defeat them. And during that time, oh gosh, how much Mangala worked. From 2010, he was trying to bring me back into politics. I was out of it. And say, you have to come. And I can remember one day I said, I am not coming back. He burst out crying. And the other friends who were there have made a big joke of it. So, and of course, when we worked together, we worked very dedicatedly and won the election also. And then he was very passionate about what he believed in and very, very loyal to his beliefs. He was not an opportunist. He would never, ever betray his principles, which was one of the most, I think, valued things in Mangala. Isn't that so? He would never betray his own principles, even at his own cost. He got sacked from governments for not betraying his principles, and so many other things happened to him politically because of that. And right at the end, I met Mangala a few days before he was diagnosed with COVID. And I said, Mangala, now you have declared that you're out of politics. I have declared so also a little before you. What are you going to do? And then he said, Madam, I am going to work for young people to build up leaders. I said, how strange, I have already begun to do that. So the two of us had the same thoughts at the same time, roughly. He was doing it, he had his own way of doing it, I had my own way of doing it. And now that has ended up in an academy for leadership and public policy in this institution. And if Mangala lived, this whole program would have gone a long way. Finally, I would like to say, if Mangala lived, this country would have been very different. Even the government would have been different. That's all I like to say. And thank you very much for giving me this chance. And there are so many other things I thought of. Chanchala, when you forced me to say these things, maybe we will talk about it some other time and record it or something. Thank you so much for listening, for giving me your ear, and for organizing this event, for your very generous contribution to our library. And as a Buddhist, I will say, Mangala Niwan Suwa Labeva.